my name is Holly. I don't know why it crashed. I'm gonna give y'all a minute to show up. Hey Stern, hey Dan, hey Spinal, hey everyone. I'm so sorry, I don't know why that happened, but it has made me start a new live stream. I can't explain it. I don't know why that happened. But hello! I was worried. I was like, I don't know what's happened. I had no idea what was going on. It just died. But, you know, it's working now, so we'll just accept it. Hi Dad! Hi Liam! So I am gonna start with telling you guys what the change is, because I may as well. That's kind of an important thing. Praise be the Omnisire. So I don't know if any of you know. I don't know if any of you noticed. There is a sign that's gone on every single stream and video that I've made over the last few months. And that sign gives some important information. And that is that the layout of this YouTube is going to be changing. It's going to be slightly different. And what's going to happen is, you're a hoser, Dorian. I'm going to get rid of the dramatic music. It feels too dramatic. Let me just build it in. So 2023 is the year of YouTube. So I have been, for the last year of my content focused primarily on Twitch. I'm going to have that changing this year. This year I'm focusing a lot more on my YouTube content. I love YouTube, I love hanging out with you guys, and I love the community that I'm building over here. And I want to give some time and attention to it. The biggest thing that's going to be is consistency. These Sunday live streams will not be changing. I will still be here every Sunday around 6 to go through a topic with you all. However, there is going to be a change. So as you know, I was running Thursday videos, pre-recorded, and the problem is my consistency lacked due to how many other projects that I was doing at the time. I have dropped most of my other projects now. They're gone. And what's going to happen is each week on a Thursday, a new video of a full topic will be dropping every Thursday. But there's a caveat. The topic will only be new to some of you. Some of you will not see this video before. However, anyone who is on my Patreon will see the video 1 week earlier. So next week, on Thursday, 2 videos will be dropping. Episode 6 and episode 7 and 8 of Hell's Reach. 7 and 8 will only be available to Patreons until next Thursday. So Patreons will get full access to any video 1 week earlier than anyone else. The Patreon has different tiers. It's available to any tier of Patreon, the cheapest one being £3. The reason for this is that I want to thank a lot of the people who are on my Patreon. I've currently got 2 people who have signed up for it already. They will be getting first look at all my videos. I don't get paid for what I do here, but I want to spend more time on this, and that does mean taking away from what I do on Twitch. But I'm happy to do that because I love this channel and I want it to grow. And the best way that we can do this is by pushing out more topics and showing you guys more of Warhammer that I'm going to learn. So next week, 6, 7, and 8 of Hell's Reach will be dropping. Anyone who's not a Patreon, don't worry, you will still see the video just 1 week later than anyone else. This is not to force people to sub to Patreon. This just gives them the option if they want early access. But today, we're doing Lamenters, and we're starting with Voldemort. The origin and organization. So, YouTube supremacy at the moment, kind of, yeah, we're doing a YouTube supremacy moment. I can't lie to you. We are letting YouTube take over for this year. 2023 is the year of YouTube. So be aware that I do have a Patreon for early access. That will be in the link of every channel, in every description. It will also be in the comment section of every video. So if you want early access to the videos, that is how you get them. Maybe that'll change. I have 2 Patreons right now. After mug a leprechaun, I know Dorian Lamenters. Many people are upset. Don't mug leprechauns. But yes, I do. And on that note, I want to say all Patreons will now also be at the beginning of every video. So at the beginning of every video, I'm going to take a moment, like I'm doing right now, to say to you guys, where'd my picture go? Thank you to my royal patrons. So far, it's Hansel Panda and Suki SJ. So thank you to both of them who allow me to do my content sponsor free. So that is a shout out that's going to be happening at the beginning of every video, because I appreciate anyone who does stuff to my Patreon. But let's get into Lamenters.
The Lamenters. The galaxy of the Warhammer setting is a dark and terrible place.
It is.
A bloody fresco of never-ending tyranny, conflict, and hate.
Fair.
The tale of the Lamenters is the tale of the Imperium.
Sorry, Liam. You just got me. You caught me with the those are primary school kids.
Of mankind itself. A bright and shining new tomorrow that was birthed into an age of horror. A noble thing that was twisted by the times it was born into. For the Lamenters are in fact the most cursed of all of the Space Marines who ever bestrode the galaxy. A galaxy that in a very real and demonstrably quantifiable way that despises them.
Okay.
It is the 41st millennium. The Imperium
You are all correct though. Voldemort has a fantastic voice.
of mankind rules vast tracts of the Milky Way galaxy. Yet they do so not by dint of virtue or commerce, ingenuity or diplomacy. They do so by force of arms alone. And the greatest example of this military might must surely be the greatest of our number.
It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life.
The Emperor's own Angels of Death, his Adeptus Astartes. His chapters are Space Marines.
You'd like to recommend the Carcharodons, if no one else has, my personal favourite successor chapter. I'd be down for that, Dan.
Each of these chapters is a self-contained army made up of 1,000 of these post-human super-beings. No more, no less. But the human hegemony is not unchallenged, and thus, at times, of the 1,000 chapters of Space Marines, some fall by the wayside.
Are the Carcharodons the space sharks, or are you wanting me to see space sharks? Because I'm down either way. Both, either, whichever.
They fight for all of their lives, the Space Marines. Never slowing, never stopping, rarely given the time to breathe, to replenish, to replace their losses.
Nice.
So many chapters are simply used up in the Imperium's wars. Some fall to slow deterioration, as their genetic skill to control and maintain their gene seed stocks is not enough to face their decline. Some fall to rapid attrition in war fronts that shift and envelop entire sectors, cutting them off from the rest of their erstwhile allies and then drowning them. Some chapters fall to the one mighty event, like a concerted attack from Xenos Raiders, dark corrupted Chaos Marines, or the Great Devourer, the Tyranids. Hence have many chapters of Marines been struck from the annals of the armies of humanity, the light devoured by the darkness. So it is that in times of great need, or to merely replace the losses accrued over time.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also going to be doing a In a Minute series, which is me trying to recap the things I've learned in less than a minute on each chapter. Please do correct me in the comments of those, because I will get things wrong, but it's going to be the best way for me to consolidate my learning. That'll be on Tuesdays.
The Imperium will order a new founding. A founding. A legendary event, only performed some 30-odd times or less in all of the 10,000 years of the Imperium's mighty reign. For to create new chapters of Space Marines is no small task, no mean feat. It takes an act of unbridled will on the part of the entire race, for to create Space Marines is to forge new armies of elite warriors, and the materials that are required are rare indeed.
They're essentially the same as the Iron Fists in armor, except for they've got the checkerboard. Low Gothic are the English words like Space Marines, High Gothic is more Latin, such as Atatis. Oh, okay, I get you. That makes sense.
The construction of new fleets of ships to carry the warriors of the Emperor to where they will need to go. The creation of a new chapter monastery, a bastille of legend, bespoke, individual, unique, for the men who will call it base camp and home. The new chapters will require hardy and rugged peoples from whom to draw their recruits. They will need the very best of candidates, the cream of humanity, to apply and then be tested beyond the depths of mortal tolerance. For only the unbreakable can stand in the battle lines of the Astartes. The Imperium must select correct gene seed, stable and true, to be the furnace that powers the transformation of mortal man to demigods of battle. Their arms and munitions and weapons of war must be created, but also then supported for all of the years the chapter plows the void in search of enemies of the Imperium.
I do want to say, Dan, I didn't gloss over the fact that you used laments in a sentence, because that's fucking hilarious.
And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. The process itself can take many decades, sometimes even as long as centuries, to prepare. So founding is not done lightly. Cannot be authorized by any but the highest executive body in the entire realm, the High Lords of Terror. To even gain an audience to propose such a colossal act of will and endeavor can itself take decades to merely be footed as a...
Sorry, I do want to interrupt to say thank you, Stan, for becoming my third ever patron! Thank you so much. You will get early access to all videos starting next week. You will have 4 videos to watch. And then 2 each week after. Thank you so much! It's because Games Workshop tried... Yeah, they got denied, hence the Astra Militarum. I get you. You'll get early access to everything!
possibility before it can ever be ratified. And thus are all foundings events of moment, of deep gravitas. For they are also an admittance to the people of humanity, by all of humanity, that their legendary warriors are not infallible, and they are not immortal. And thus a founding can be viewed with deep concern by the conservative, those timid rulers who wish to project the strength they do not possess. The time of the founding of the Lamenters was dark indeed, and thus, in year 991 millennium 35, the 21st founding was finally ratified and realized. But it was unlike any founding before or since, with obvious exception of the Indomitus founding.
Ooh, does that mean that's something that I should be looking at? So, I don't know whether, Stern, you saw what benefits the Patreon comes with, but when it comes for the Patreon that I think you signed up for, you get first voting rights for any reacts. So, I'm just saying, if you want to see that, you get first voting rights. There's a second part to the story in his Bolter's video, that's cool.
It was massive in scope, contained
you
the means for
should.
many new chapters of Space Marines to be created. Yet, it went beyond the usual remit, the tried and tested pattern of a founding. Some say that the gene seed that was chosen was somehow mutated by accident. Some say it was a warp storm that erupted at the most inconvenient point. A warp intrusion that soured all of the seed and made the resultant Marines and their chapters cursed.
Oh.
Some say that there was a far more mundane origin and reason for the resultant chapters and their dark fates.
So what would be the effect if it was in the brain?
For many believe that the Magos and Biologi of the Mechanicus gene-right genitors tinkered with the strands of DNA, attempting what would be ever before and ever after considered sacrilegious. They attempted to improve on the work of the Emperor himself, the master of mankind. They tried to create better Marines.
Okay.
And in this, their hubris, they were undone. For, as it is known, no mere mortal can walk in the footsteps of the gods. And by doing so, attempting it, by meddling with the divine perfection of the Emperor's design, they opened the door to failure, to corruption.
They have bad luck built in their very genes. That is upsetting. They should maybe go to a different shop for their genes.
The chapters that are still known to hail from that founding are thus: the Black Dragons, the Blood Gorgons, the Firehawks, the Flame Falcons, the Minotaurs, the Sons of Antaeus, and of course, the Lamenters.
And that's who we're learning about today!
But each and every one of these chapters, and those lost to the sands of time, were not quite right. They were cursed. The Black Dragons are mutants with overactive osmodula. The Blood Gorgons fell to chaos and its mutations within a century of their creation. The Firehawks, who were lost in the warp, and some believe transformed into the illusion of the damned, though this is highly debatable.
But the Lamenters are like the most popular out of these, I assume.
The Flame Falcons were also declared excommunita traitores, and it was the very sons of the blood of the Emperor himself, the Grey Knights, who had to put them down. The Minotaurs are also here, but we shall discuss them in greater depth in a later entry. And the Sons of Antaeus. Huge Marines that some state must have come from Death Guard traitor gene seed, due to their resilience, but it now seems more likely that they were in fact a very early attempt at making Primaris Marines.
Black Dragons love them. They have bone spikes protruding from the arms. They dip into adamantium to use as weapons like Wolverine. That's fucking sick.
So the hand of Belisarius' call lingers in the picture also, as faded as its image is, as hard to confirm. And of course, the Lamenters. The Lamenters were born from the blood. They were of the gene seed of Sanguinius, the Angel, the 9th Primarch.
Of course you guys like them. They're Sanguinius boys. Y'all, right, Sanguinius is famed amongst you all. Every time Sanguinius is mentioned, a lot of you are right on board, and I get it. Y'all are Sanguinius stands. It's okay.
And progenitor of the Blood Angels Legion. And in them it was hoped that the future could actually be brighter. For a few mere centuries, all of the blood held their breath. They dared to hope. For these Lamenters did not seem to suffer from the dark curse that hung over all of the other Marines of the line. They were all infected with two separate corruptions. The first was one hardwired into their very DNA by the Emperor, or so it was said. The Red Thirst.
So do the Lamenters also have the Red Thirst? They're probably the most popular Sons of Sanguinius other than the Blood Angels themselves. Yeah, it sounds about right. Y'all love the Blood Angels.
A thirst for blood that would rise when the battle was thickest. A mist that would fall over the warriors of the Ninth, that could transform them into blood-soaked berserkers as terrible as any Khanate.
Put it this way, why Angron thought of Sanguinius, the butcher's nails, didn't bite into his brain. He was that loved. Aww. They don't have the red thirst or the black rage. That's the wild thing. So that means right. But that shows that it was a corruption in the gene seed that happened like as a form of PTSD, as opposed to something that was a defect. So if they don't have the defect, it must be like a space age version of PTSD.
But it was not the madness of battle, but the urge to drink blood that brought on this transformation. The blood angel who gave into this madness would become a vampire-like thing of ancient legend. Feral, terrible, completely without conscience or mind.
There we go.
Only to
Thank
recover with the blood of innocence on their hands, dripping from their lips, to then endure the shame of this. To know it could happen again, and all of the honor and courage and beauty that they had protected was befouled by their actions. Or they would need to be summarily put down by their own brothers, a permanent devolution into a being of nothing more than fang and claw. A crushing curse, a true blight. Yet, but somehow, they seem to have been programmed into their very DNA, their makeup, by the Emperor. Yet
Oh. Okay, so it just delayed the red thirst and then cursed them with bad luck. Okay, fair. It's believed that all the weirdness and mutation of the 21st foundings was due to them trying to get rid of the gene seed flaws through messing with it. Makes sense. Makes sense.
this was not even the worst of the matter, for this red thirst was compounded by the curse of corn during the events of the Horus Heresy. For the curse meant that the angels were to feel the last moments of their primarch, the angel Sanguinius. It was a waking dream state, where all of reality was twisted, a visual hallucination that overlaid all. And in those times of being in the midst of this black rage, the sons of Sanguinius would see the walls of the imperial palace on Terra, and look out on fields of never-born cavorting there. Demons. Standing behind them, the ranks and columns of the traitor legions. Or, more commonly, the Blood Angel would see all as being on the vengeful spirit, the flagship of the War Master of Evil, Horus Lupercal. And all adversaries would take on the resemblance of Horus.
What, Horus is my toaster? Am I wrong?
The being who slew the angel, and by doing so, augmented the curse of corn to be this black rage.
I must say, they've got a I like the symbol. The symbol looks very cool.
For the Blood Angels were psychically gifted, and all felt the death of their lord.
I don't have a toaster anymore. I literally killed it. It was Horus. What do you mean? I don't own a toaster anymore. You can check my kitchen. There is no toaster. It is dead. It was Horus.
They felt it. So, to the lineage of the Blood, the Ninth Legion, the curse was a reality that would spell their doom.
Hey, Spinal! I just saw you on Modern Warfare. I didn't think you were going to make it today. Welcome in. Thank you for coming. The announcement was done earlier. I will be re-announcing after each video, purely because I know some of you come in and out.
For each year, the thirst became stronger, the rage more alluring. They were slowly dying out. Each year, it became more of a struggle to replace members before they would die.
Welcome in, Spencer! Hey, Jarrett! How are we doing? It's sad too, because before his chaos corruption, Horus and Sanguinius were closer in bond than any of the other brothers. I am a chaos follower, so I'm like, Horus did the right thing in rebelling, but that is sad that it did tear apart brothers.
Through normal combat attrition, or the additional losses to the red thirst and black rage. But the Lamenters, they were of the blood, yet they did not seem to have these flaws at all.
Hey Marshmallow, welcome in. Great to see you. Happy you're back.
Their blood was
it,
pure, or so it seemed. Like it had never been before, not even during the Crusade.
This is what I say. This is, right, hear me out. I say this all the time. History was written by the winners. If you want people to think you're a good guy, you need to win. Because otherwise you'll be painted as the bad guy.
For most believe the Emperor programmed in the red thirst to his sons of the night. For what other possibility was there? An error from the Emperor of mankind was inconceivable. But the Lamenters did not fall to these curses. Yet, to the shame and pain of the rest of the Legion, the other chapters, the Lamenters turned their backs on their brothers.
On that point, thank you, Dan, for just reminding me. We're going to be voting throughout the stream on next week's video. Well, next week's live. Throw suggestions in the chat. Space, well, obviously there's sharks. Space sharks, Tau. Who else do we want? That's one of the options. Night Lords. Any other suggestions? We've got one more space. You guys will vote throughout the stream. Malice. Right? So throughout the entire stream, you'll be able to vote on this. So do get your votes in. Everyone who's at the live will get to vote for the next week's live. It's the best way to do it, because that way it's fair. So get your votes.
They refused to countenance affiliation with the Blood Angels themselves, or any of their other successor chapters. Eventually, their hauteur was returned 10 times over when it was discovered the dark secret of their existence. For the 21st founding was indeed cursed. So many went to chaos so swiftly. The remains mostly being mutants and fleeing to the fringes of the Imperium, so their differences did not gain them a right of extermination.
Well, Stern, you get first choice on any videos. So, as one of the 3 Patreons currently, you'll get to pick the videos that I go over. And also, you'll get early access to them. So, you know, if you have any ideas that you want to see just privately, you can have first vote. But in the stream, yeah, every Sunday you'll vote for the next Sunday. Night Lords is winning, you're all heretics, and I love it. We are heretics.
The Declaration of Excommunicate Traitoris. Yet what was wrong with the Lamenters, one might ask? For there was something wrong with all of those chapters. Something strange. A trait that had been seen before.
Fair.
For they had a preternatural unluck. A mystic misfortune that shrouded and dogged the footsteps of the Lamenters where'er they went.
It's not special treatment. It's if you're going to support me in making content, I am going to allow you more freedom in deciding what content you see. So it's not that it's special treatment, it's just you make the decision to support me. I want to give you the content you want to see. So yeah.
For other chapters, fleets would traverse the void of space and the terrors of the warp behind great Geller fields. Some would always be lost on the way, shipping disappearing all over the Imperium in dribbles here and drops there. But the Lamenters were cursed. So often would their fields inexplicably drop. Their navigators simply crumple under the force of what they saw in the warp.
You are special, so that's regardless of whether you get special treatment, you are special.
Engines failing at the most inopportune moments. Of course, this was only one element, for their very existence was dealing with this seeming background malevolence from the very galaxy itself. Clips of bolters would regularly jam, grenades go off unbidden, heavy armor and dropships cogitators and machine spirits failing when needed most. And it was not an unprecedented scenario either, for it had been seen before. Another strange...
Is that a double-bladed chain fist? I don't know. Did I do that again? Probably not, right? Feel like I don't know whether I'm caught up on my own live. I wasn't. Damn. That's my own fault. I thought my live was like really far behind. It turned out I just hadn't refreshed.
Strangely similar circumstances. For there was another formation that was noted to experience this. Unluck. The Afriel strain.
Thank you, Liam.
The Afriel strain were regiments of Imperial Guard that were made up of cloned warriors. All were taken from the genetic stock of heroes of the Imperium, such as the great Lord Macarius himself. Their effect in combat was near unsurpassed for normal baseline humans.
It is pretty sick, I'll give you that.
All were as intelligent as their templates, but something was wrong with them. They had no empathy, could not interact with themselves or others, were generally despised as if they were blanks. But more than this, they also had this unluck. After battles, where they often excelled, they would suffer from mechanical breakdowns in their transport's equipment, suffer the most dire of misfortune. It was as if the galaxy itself, reality in all of its splendor, rejected their very existence as unnatural.
Oh.
It was always as if reality itself conspired to try to remove them.
Cool.
Like a white sail attacking invaders into its own body. Though the Lamenters did not experience this seeming detestation to the same extent as the Afriel strain, they still experienced it. And soon, this blight on them, when compounded with the revelation of the other chapters of the Founding were also cursed or traitors, made matters worse. For the other Space Marines are as diverse in their traditions, perspectives and goals as there are stars in the skies. And some of these chapters were superstitious, no matter how this flew in the face of their training and stoic front.
Brother Chiron, the stealthiest dreadnought? Ooh. Tiberius the Redwake, chapter master of the Chakarodon, has a pair of double chain fists. Boo? Why boo? What have I done?
And these chapters would not fight alongside the twisted, the cursed, or the blighted. So they certainly would not wish to fight alongside the chapters of the cursed Founding, and the Lamenters, the least of all. For their curse could be catching, is what many believed, as anyone who relied on their support in a battle was liable to be affected by the unluck of the Lamenters as they were. And thus, the Lamenters became pariahs for a long age of their existence.
Oh my god, I'm so dumb! Sorry. Boo! Yeah, no, I read that wrong. I read it like, boo! And yes, I do. I was told that earlier. Thank you, Spinal, for keeping me up to date. And it does look like the Night Lords are winning. So you might get what you want in here, Spinal. Sorry, Liam.
Cut off from their brothers of the blood by their own choice. Segregated and shunned by many who should have been their staunchest allies. The Lamenters knew the heavy weight of solitude in a universe that actively sought their demise.
Yo, Cancer, how we doing?
Thus, they became melancholy, known to be Marines of few words, dour and dowdy, unlike the rest of their line. But they endured.
I can get behind that. I'm the kind of person who would jump out of a pile of bodies to scare people. No, ooh, as in surprise and alarm. Boo!
They endured.
Let's go!
And it is this, the merest act of their suffrage, their resilience, their valor in the face of such an unfair world, that makes them one of the most precious resources and the most noble of chapters in all of the Imperium. For it is easy to be loyal when you are loved, adored, and glorified. It is another to be loyal when you are despised, shunned, and forgotten.
Marshmallow, that sounds sick as fuck.
To remain faithful to themselves and their heritage, despite all of these trials. It has forged them into one of the most quietly respected of all of the sons of Sanguinius. And it is through them, perhaps even more than the first founding chapter, the Blood Angels themselves, that the light of the angels shines. For in their depths of despair, every day of every week, of every month, of every
That's
year,
cute.
of every decade, of every century, of every millennium, from the time of their creation until the momentous events of the time of ending, they have never bent, never bowed, never surrendered.
Agreed, Marshmallow.
Their brothers have but two curses, and their nobility is known to be augmented by the trial. Thus, this third curse, this additional humbling misfortune, and their reaction to it, is what makes the Lamenters the best and brightest of all of their line. For they know suffering from the moment they are chosen to the moment they expire. And yet, beyond all hope, beyond all expectation, still, for 6,000 years or more, they have never, ever surrendered.
Okay,
Not to
let's
the
go.
thirst, not to the black rage, and not to the dark clouds of misery that consume all and can bring so many strong men down to the dust.
Dust.
Now, if you have been listening, not dozing off on the wisps of
Hey.
dream that I have soothingly spun into your ears, then you will have one question. But surely, you mentioned at the very start, Voldemort, you
Yo, Shawson, welcome in! And the most badass OGs in Warhammer, they give 0 shits. I like that. That's a vibe. I did a little victory dance when any of the Lamenters got Primus reinforcements. I'm glad.
senescent hovering skull that these Marines did not experience the black rage or red thirst. Alas, as happened with the Primaris Marines some 5,000 or 6,000 years later, this turned out to be a fool's hope. For though it took much longer to manifest, to arise, the Lamenters did eventually begin to fall to the red thirst, and then also to the black rage. And thus,
So they do have it.
as hated as it was for them to do so, for it was such an admittance of defeat, the chapter master opened discourse with the Blood Angels, and then formed his own death company.
Nice.
The Lamenters would never be close to their brother chapters, but they had to have some dialogue now. And for them, with everything else they had been given by an unkind reality, this came as another humbling blow. Yet as with everything else, all that had happened to them, they took this in their stride. They accepted the hand that had been dealt to them, and they moved forward.
Up until that, everyone was pretty much sure they were all dead, with only one survivor in the Death Watch, and now the back, alive and full. Oh, okay. So these boys are surviving.
And
Nice.
now, to cover the chapter relics and organization, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Chapter Relics, the Banner of Tears. The Ordus Pronatus is one of the Orders Minoris of the Adeptus Sororitas, who specialize in retrieving, guarding, studying, and repairing artifacts of value to the ecclesiarchy.
Gabriel Seth, during his trial, called the Lamenters cowards because they were wearing yellow armors. If the Lamenters were cowards, they'd probably trip while running away. That's funny. That's actually funny. Hey, am I the only one who thinks they look very much like the Imperial Fist, though? Like, except for the checkerboard, I would have assumed they were more aligned with the Imperial Fist than I would have Sanguinius.
They also have the responsibility of maintaining and blessing the many banners and symbols of the Order's militant.
Thank you.
They have been called upon to reconsecrate the livery of other imperial bodies, as was the case when they repaired the chapter banner of the formerly disgraced Lamenters chapter, after its involvement in the Badab uprising. It is said that the sister Pronatus, who repaired the banner, wept openly as they did so. So terrible to contemplate were the sins of the Lamenters against the Emperor of mankind.
They also look like taxi. That was a good one. I liked that one. Shiram was in the Death Watch when the chapter was thought to be destroyed. He berserker raged against all the Tyranids as a result. There's no real defeating of the Tyranids though, so it's like, was that wasted? Maybe a little bit. And yo, Alpaca, welcome in.
To this day, the standard is known as the Banner
Good
of
morning.
Tears. Catechist. The catechist was an ancient Infernus pistol used by Chapter Master Malachim Foros in battle during the Badap War era. The Glaive in Carmine. The Glaive in Carmine is a two-handed master-crafted power weapon in the form of a power glaive once wielded by Chapter Master Malachim Foros, again during the Badab War era. Victory's Price. Victory's Price was a master-crafted Astartes power spear. Bearing this spear is viewed as both a great honor and a heavy burden by the warriors of the Lamenters chapter. It has been wielded at the forefront of many great victories and mighty battles. However, more of its wielders have fallen in their moment of triumph than have lived to return to the chapter's halls.
So that sounds more like this weapon is cursed than the chapter.
Though the Adeptus Astartes know no fear, the wielders of this spear tend to become concerned with ensuring that they will sell their life as dearly as possible when the time comes to pay for their success.
I thought the glaive in command was wielded by all Sanguinian guard. I don't know. Does anyone else? I'll open this to the group.
Chapter Appearance. The power armor of the Lementers was originally bright yellow, except for a red helm stripe and the right shoulder plate, which was decorated with white and black checks, upon which rested the chapter's badge. The most recent chapter colors include a power armor scheme that darkens the Lamenter's armor to a mustard yellow, and transfers the chapter banner and the checkered pattern to the left shoulder plate. The Lamenters display their black squad tactical specialty symbol, battle line, close support, fire support, veteran or command, on the right pauldron. A white low Gothic numeral indicating squad number is centered within it. The color of the left knee plate indicates company in accordance with the Codex Astartes.
No, it's everything: knives, guns, tanks, ships, servants, friends, everything would turn against, even the weather would turn against them. Oh, I hope we see more of that in the next episode. We will be going to an Adeptus Ridiculous next.
The helm stripe of the Lamenter's original color scheme was dropped completely. Chapter Badge. The Lamenter's chapter badge is a bleeding heart against the background of a black and white checkerboard pattern. Chapter Organization. The Lamenters remain at their heart a Blood Angel successor chapter.
My new series is actually going to be called Harley Hammer Knowledge Check. So, I'm sorry, I can't call it Lorehammer. It's Harley Hammer.
Heir to the glorious and unique martial traditions and brutally effective art of war practiced by the sons of Sanguinius. They adhere to the basic tenets of the Codex Astartes, with a notional strength of 10 companies, each comprising 100 Astartes, with the usual division of 1 veteran company and 1 scout company, 4 battle companies, 1 tactical reserve, 1 assault reserve, and 1 devastator reserve company. However, like all their fellow scions of Sanguinius, there is a very great deal of fluidity between the companies, and they very rarely fight in full cohesion, save the 10th Scout Company, whose members have yet to complete their training and become full Astartes.
Well, good to know they have a good episode on the Space Sharks, and thank you for thinking that's a great name. Harley Hammer Knowledge Check will be out on Tuesday. I will be reviewing topics that we've studied, and I will be trying to give an overview in a few minutes or less. Essentially the quickest overview that I can do, but enough that y'all can correct me when I'm wrong about things, like when I switched up Krieg and Crypt the other week. Tyros is one of the tallest space marines. He has to wear Dreadnought armor mixed with his normal one. That's funny. Mix of Terminator and Dreadnought armor parts because he's huge. That's cool. For those we cherish, we die in glory. That's such a nice thing for them to have. As like...
Instead, the Lamenters employ strike forces, which are created as needed from across all of the units of the chapter, giving them a high degree of flexibility in shaping their forces. Chapter recruitment was also carried out on a practical basis, with likely aspirants culled from feudal worlds and far-flung imperial colonies from where the chapter's fleet's roving course took it.
We've just said it's Harley Hammer. Lorehammer's already a thing. Someone has the name.
The lack of typical Blood Angels deficiencies in their gene seed meant that the Lamenters were considered a Codex-compliant chapter for much of their history. Although the nature of a fleet-based chapter does require some flexibility in this regard, with isolated fleet elements being forced to adapt their tactics to the limited resources available to them. Additionally, the Lamenters fought without direct Imperial support for most of their history due to their reputation, instilling in them a sense of self-reliance uncommon in many Codex-compliant chapters who are more comfortable a part of the greater Imperial war machine. The regular outbreaks of misfortune that afflicted the chapter also resulted in a greater deal of flexibility and pragmatism.
Why is he so tall though, Jarrett? Also, hey there, how are we doing?
Developing in the Lamenters' tactical outlook, as well as in their recruitment procedures. The Lamenters' order of battle favors shock assault tactics, often delivered through a close air assault, utilizing the chapter's Thunderhawk and Stormraven gunships.
Damn boy, he thick! That's a thick-ass boy!
In terms of operational equipment and insignia, the Lamenters cleave more to the standard panoply of the Space Marines than their Blood Angels forebears and their fellow Blood Angel second founding successor chapters. Although this may be more of a matter of ease of resupply and maintenance for a fleet-based chapter with no home port that is forced to rely largely on its own artificers. The chapter retains a few cherished examples of sanguinary relics, but aside from their large number of air units, heavy tanks, such as Land Raiders and Bald Predators, are less common with the Lamenters than that of other Blood Angel successors, while suits of Terminator armor are particularly rare in the Lamenters' armory.
So some of them just be big? That's fair.
And are valued beyond price by the chapter.
If you're bigger, naturally just like taller and like wider, do you think you get more power and more prestige in your guild? Just purely on the fact it's like, hey, they're gonna have to look up to him. They'll probably be a little bit intimidated coming into this. We should have him at the front. Deal? Because, like, imagine I'm, like, Alpaca, I'm jealous, because I'm not. Imagine if you were going into battle, and then this 4'11" prick walks up to you like, hey, we're gonna fight you. You're not gonna take him seriously. You're just not. If he's coming up to you at 4'11" being like, you're gonna look down at him and be like, lads, get the ankle shields! And then you're just gonna go in. Because you're just not. So surely them being taller is going to give them a bit more prestige. Okay, it does seem to work on a size-based hierarchy in most instances. Salamanders never get as big as the Primarch. I'm not saying size matters, Alpaca. I'm saying that on first sight, if some 4'11" dude with a hammer walks up to you, you're going to be like, look at the little dwarf. Pausanias of the Ultramarines was particularly tall. He had a jewelry rig of suit and busted Terminator armor over his standard power armor so it would fit properly. Nobody knows why he's so big. GNC mutation or just an allegory of him being the chapter master of the space sharks being the biggest shark. Yes, they also look like sharks. That's hilarious. And they're at 23%. There's a real chance that we could be watching them next week. It's between Night Lords, Malice, and Space Sharks. Tau? No one wants Tau. You should also learn about the flesh terrors. One scene in the book is where a flesh terror chucks a ripped off head at a feral tribesman who is hiding in the bushes and breaks his arm. That's hilarious.
As with their progenitors, the Lamenters chaplains operate as part of their overall chapter command, rather than subordinate to it in each company, as in the case with most Codex-compliant chapters. This enables the chaplains to watch for the growing problems of the Red Thirst in the chapter's ranks, while the sanguinary priesthood holds a particularly prominent role in chapter governance and is known by the Lamenters as the Calyx. It has often been observed that it is the Calyx that has had the greatest part in holding the chapter together through its many trials and misfortunes, as the sanguinary priests of the Lamenters tend not only to the physical health of the chapter's Astartes, but also the spiritual stigmata they bear.
I do have to look up the Raven Guard. That is one that is on the list.
End quote.
Alright, next episode is Who are the Lamenters and what did they do to deserve this? By Adeptus Ridiculous. There's also a space wolf that had wonky metabolism, so he had a gut. He was ridiculously strong though, and I think he dual wielded thunder hammers. That's amazing.
Welcome.
Liam, that's actually last. So what's coming up is we're starting with Voldemort, we're going to Adeptus Ridiculous, then we're going to Warrior Tier to hear a story about Lamenters, then we're going to end off on a nice little short from The Emperor Does TTS on what happened to the Lamenters. Lawnmower Bless. He got ahead from a bunch of feral tribesmen he killed with his hands and started eating them till he heard the hiding tribesmen. Oh fuck. The Amber King's vid on the Raven Guard Circus Corax is good. Okay. But yes, Liam, you have ruined the surprise a little bit. The final episode today is going to be the TTS. I do also want to state for those who weren't here at the beginning, the news was new video. I'm taking a break from Twitch to focus on my YouTube. On Tuesday, there's going to be a Harley Hammer knowledge check in which I go over a topic that we've done previously to try and bring it in as simplified as I can make it, and then you can tell me if I'm wrong. Thursdays will be Hell's Reach, as usual, until we start doing more lore videos once Hell's Reach is finished. And Sunday will still be live. However, Patreons will have access to the Tuesday and Thursday videos 1 week earlier than all other people. So if you are a Patreon, it is from £3 a month. So not a lot of money, but I do understand still a lot to some people. You will get that access 1 week earlier than anyone else. You will also get exclusive voting rights on videos. So, Watcher in the Dark, if you want a spooky 40k story, I'm so down. All the chaplains of the Flesh Terrors are oddly badass. If you're called the Flesh Terrors, like, you sound like you're going to be badass. I am Wrath! Sorry. Press H if you like hammers. Sorry, Watcher in the Rain. Okay. I'd be down to watch that. But let's go into Adeptus Ridiculous.
Everyone, to a very special episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous. This is going to be our Lamenters episode, voted on by you patrons over at patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous.
So essentially, he's doing what I did, but like, I didn't know he was just going to say that. Patreons get to pick things. They also get a nice little thank you at the beginning of videos. So, yeah.
Apparently, on the Shy gave me a couple of stats that she wanted me to read out. So, since this is our 10th episode, right now you can listen to our podcast nonstop for 10 hours, which officially makes it bingeable. I think it was bingeable before that. We now have over 200 patrons.
What?
Closing in on 10,000.
I'm sorry. You mean
our goals, by the way.
It's online.
They're just chatting. Let's skip the just
Also
chatting.
got around 50. This name is more for the collection for the Colonel. God, like not that bad. White shit podcast. That was 10 list.
Is he gonna stop this?
$11
stick on how many times I've been actually if over there.
When are you starting?
It's
so much worse.
Well.
Shall we get?
Watching the Dark, those creepy little hooded fuckers that the Dark Angels have, that's cool. The job is just to babysit insane psychopathic maniacs, so of course they're badass. True. You make a really good point, Shaw.
Shall we get into the Lamenters now?
We shall, and I have specifically prepared for this episode by. So I was scanning the Discord the other day.
Okay, if you do like this stream, it will go more into the algorithm. There will be more of us, and that will mean more content to come out. Because the more obviously interaction I get, and the more support I get, the more I can build the channel. So that is me yelling at you on behalf of Stern. Please like.
maybe like 3 or 4 days ago, and I noticed that I had a mention, and it was from Shy, all caps, "Don't read anything on the Lamenters, DK, spoilers." So I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of avoid the Discord, not look anything up. All I know about the Lamenters is that their color scheme looks like a taxi cab. It's the yellow, it's the
Oh my
checkerboard.
god, it does. I didn't think about that.
They're literally taxi cabs, dude.
Oh my god. I never thought it was about the taxi cab part.
It dawned on me like a day ago, and I was like, I gotta bring this up. They're literal taxi cabs.
Oh my god. So, alright, so the Lamenters, so there's gonna be a die-hard Lamenter, like, guy watching this, and he's gonna be really upset because I am not gonna be able to do these guys justice. Straight up, I will not be able to do them justice like he probably wants me to.
As you guys know, I know there's hardcore Lamenter fans. You're going to teach me what they get wrong, what they miss out. You can drop it in this chat, and you can tell me live why they're dumb. So, this is for those.
But at the same time, you know, tough. But
Tough shit.
Yeah.
Nasi Amit, who was the first chapter master of the Flesh Terrors, was known as the original Flesh Terror. His nickname when he was still in the Blood Angels was Flesh Terror. Oh,
that's tough shit. But honestly, I did some looking up. I did my research. I got my Google Doc here. I got all my things down, and I will say, I appreciate them more than when I didn't look them up. I still think that, you know, as a huge Salamanders
I'll
fan,
cry.
they're not quite like up there on my like, oh my god, they're so amazing, because they're just Salamanders but depressing. So it's like, you know, they're both really big bros and everything, but
Yeah.
let's get into it. So I actually kind of wish we had did an episode of the Blood Angels before this, because it probably would have helped out more, but we'll do that later, I guess. All right, so the Lamenters are a Blood Angels successor chapter. So way back when Horus Heresy era, you had the 18 chapters, 9-turn trader. Those are like the first foundings. They're like the OG chapters. But you can have successor chapters, and successor chapters are like, okay, you still have the gene seed from the main Primarch, but it's like a smaller organization. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Gilliman was like, you can't have Marines in a chapter that are any bigger than this amount, because if you do, we get heresy problems again, or something like that.
Yeah, Gilliman capped it at like 1,000, but some of them got around it, like the Black Templars, by just constantly being in battle. And the less.
Okay.
Something like that. So
You don't have any more heresy problems. That's
Yeah, Spacebook says it's bad.
sick of heresy problems.
Yep.
So like the Imperial Fists with the Rogel Door, and they have like the Black Templars and the Crimson Fists, and they're both successor chapters, and they have their own dealio. So the Lementers are a successor chapter of the Blood Angels, with the Primarch of Sanguinius.
Maybe the Space Wolves, maybe the Space Wolves. We don't know. There's too many Space Wolves, we can't count them.
Famously got fucking choke slammed by Horus in the Horus Heresy.
That
now
famous art piece where he's just laid out, fucking dead.
Yeah,
Emperor
got the big
shows
claw.
up. Yeah.
It's a good. That art piece is so like,
It's iconic, right?
It's surprisingly iconic. Maybe just because of the art style, or maybe it reminds me of like old 18th century paintings. It's kind of cool. But they were started in something known as the 21st founding, which is I guess it's the 21st founding of a successor chapter or whatever. It's also known as the cursed founding. So we're starting off hard. So the AdMech were like, okay, so those Blood Angel guys, right? Their Primarch died, and now they're haunted by visions of their dead Primarch.
Who are the other Marines in the picture? I want to know. Someone give me more information than they give.
Forever.
Yeah, they're vampires. They drink blood. They need blood, otherwise they go into crazy rage.
Crimson Fists are my favorite successor chapter. They're like the Lamenters, but not as bad a look, and have one of the most heartwarming lore moments. Aw, that's cute.
Pretty much, and eventually they go into crazy rage no matter what. It's called the Black Rage.
Right.
And once you've reached a Black Rage level, you're turned into like a death company, which is just your purpose is to just run at the enemy at Mach 5 and hopefully die while inflicting as much carnage as you can. because if you survive, you're gonna get sent back and killed anyway because you're too dangerous to be kept.
Yeah.
Which, so they got crazy things. So the AdMech took Lamenters and they fucked around with Sanguinius's gene seed.
Most curse founding chapters sort of got a cool or useful mutation. The Lamenters, they got nothing except for bad luck, really bad luck. Oh. They blew up 95% of the chapter with their own missile? Oh my lord.
To hopefully get rid of that Black Rage defect.
Right.
And they did. And they were able to get rid of it. But there seemed to be like you know the idea of probability where it's like, okay, technically everything has a chance to happen, but these boys got fucked over so much that there's got to be something else going on. Like Zinch is just there, like, let's look at this shit. Like something's up with them.
Right.
So, almost.
Yes, they did, and they won anyway. They were that cool. You know what? If you blow up 95% of your chapter and you still win, that is pretty sick. But it also shows that you had 5% of a good chapter and 95% of a lazy chapter. Just saying. I assume the crew of the ship they're on, but all lore always says that Horus and Big E were alone for the most part. Oh.
Most a huge amount of the chapters found in the 21st founding were fucked up in some way. And so Lamenters were naturally disliked by many other Space Marines because they thought they were untrustworthy.
Oh.
They didn't trust them. They were like, you guys are unstable, you'll turn to chaos, get the fuck away from me.
So they
Back
had
up.
no reason to really distrust him. It's not like the Lamenters were like, oh yeah, hey guys.
No, but like a lot of the other... Right, so I hope he's going to say this. A lot of the other legions that were part of this did turn to chaos, so they were right to be cautious.
Did you know? Thought they were unstable.
High school, it's like if 9 out of 10 of them all like decide to shoot somebody, like that, that 10th guy is probably a totally nice guy, but I don't trust him.
Right. That's
I don't
that's
trust
fair.
him at all.
That's what I said.
That's fair. It's something about the company you keep. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were all kind of had problems, and so the rest of the Space Marines were like, ew, Lamenters, taxis, get away from me. They also had a problem with their gene C where they had a constant amount of like mental melancholy. They were constantly like kind of suffering from this weird state of melancholy the whole
Why you gotta bring the dog into this? The dog did nothing to you. This is just rude.
time, which
Right.
is weird and not great.
I am the sheriff of this town. Do we have a problem?
That's not great. That's
And yeah, apparently a lot of the other 21st founding chapters turned to chaos. So another reason to not trust them.
That's what I said.
So the Lamenters were like, okay, you guys don't like us.
Thank you.
We're gonna, instead of like risking persecution by the Inquisition and stuff, we're gonna go fight the Xenos, because when it comes to the map of the galaxy, the far and away space, like in the corners of the galaxy, tends to be Xenospace. And since they're a chapter that doesn't have a home planet, unlike everyone else, they're a fleet-based chapter. You know, like Quarians in like Mass Effect.
right. Flotillas.
So
The Black Rage can be given to other people by a psycho as long as there is Space Marine who is affected by the Black Rage nearby. Holy fuck. I don't remember that. I mean, they became a bit sad that they got beat on and distrusted so much, but I don't think the sadness was inherent. I'm not going to say that this is the most accurate version, as they did say they didn't do a... Oh, wait, one sec. They held off one of the Black Crusaders alone because the chapter meant to help them fucked off, and 880 Lamenters died. All they thought they were cursed. Oh. Okay. But no, this is clearly not the most accurate version. They said they have a Google Doc, but I don't think they know as much about this chapter. It doesn't seem like they really care about this chapter. We're gonna see how they go on, but if they don't get more supportive of the Lamenters, like, we out. Deal? We'll go watch the next episode.
yeah, a big flotilla ship. So they decide, okay, we're gonna go, instead of fighting the enemy within, we're gonna fight the enemy without, and we're gonna go fight Xenos at the far reaches of space.
I'm gonna literally make a video, I'm not lying to you, at some point. I'm gonna buy a cheap toaster, I'm gonna go into the back, I'm gonna hit it with a hammer, and just label it "when your toaster is Horus." I'm gonna. And I'm just gonna beat the shit out of a toaster. Because I just feel like it needs to be done. I am a heretic. But that doesn't mean that I can't kill toasters that are Horus. Bricky brings people to Warhammer, but he doesn't know too much about his own little box of the guard. I've got that vibe. There's definitely some better lore masters, but he's a good generalist. You went to Bricky for lore. I didn't know who any of the lore masters were when I started. That's why I started with Voldemort. Because I know A, relaxing voice, B, very in depth. And like, it's better than every faction explained. Well, it was every faction touched upon. But oh my god, I had someone in the comments who was like, he's just going over a general overview, and I was like, it says every faction explained, sir. Oh, who is it? Wes? Wes is good. I like Wes. Like, I think Wes has some good stuff. I do like Voldemort. Who else? There's a couple of them. There's a couple of them that I've liked. I did until recently because of obviously the information that I was given. I really like the Templin Institute. Now I'm not as big of a fan. Major Kill. I don't mind Major Kill. I don't know about Oculus Imperialis. I don't. Why? But yeah, there's definitely some that I like more than others. And it's a personal preference thing. People are going to have their personal preference. I like people who go into detail. Yeah, exactly. I like ones that go into more detail because, like, I want to know more. I don't want to be left with these lingering questions.
However, during that period of time, did we talk about Abaddon? We haven't yet, have we?
No, I think after the Horus Heresy was done, I was like, hey, what comes next? Who's the big villain? And I think you and Chad were like, oh, it's Abaddon, but
I like Abaddon. He's pretty good.
We'll get to him later because he's a dick too, I think.
Yeah, he's a dick. Okay, so he's had 13 Black Crusades, which are like his big crusades to stop the Imperium. He's failed like almost all of them besides the 13th. But that's kind of why he's jokingly referred to as a failure. He's like Failbadon.
He's tried 13 times. Like, of course.
He's caused problems, but yeah, he hasn't done.
He's never won. Yeah.
Well, besides the 13th one.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, the 13th one was the fall of Cadia, and that was his good stuff. But it is pretty tough. Anyway. During the 9th Black Crusade, the Lamenters were called back to defend a hive world from, his shenanigans. And the other Space Marine chapter that was there on said hive world...
Wait, isn't Ark the one that y'all said was a Nazi? Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure y'all said he's a Nazi. $13, but they all did a lot of damage, especially the Cadia thing was like OP. No, which one's the Nazi? Y'all give me a lot of information about a lot of people.
Straight up refused to fight with them. The Mortifactors chapter, they were super suspicious and they were like, we would rather leave than serve with you. So they bailed. They bailed on the entire planet because they didn't want to fight with the Lamenters. So the Lamenters, in order to help save the population and save the humans in the Hive City.
Gabriel Seth ordered a librarian to give a note to the Inquisitor to the Black Rage and then remove it. Later, the Inquisitor's apprentice said he was never the same. I doubt he would be. Controversially, the way of Clus, I think his video is bad. Fair.
They held out until only about 200 Lamenters were left. They're like a massive chunk of their entire chapter fucking died.
Right, when people say peace through culture, there's two different versions. There's like people who take it too far, and then there's people that like a reasonable amount of accountability for other people's well-being. So like not using slurs, for example. I'm very much of the kind of, I don't want to take it too far, but I am very much of the case of, if you use the R word, I'm probably not going to listen to whatever you've said. That's why I didn't like the Timmy thing. I found that quite offensive. I also didn't. I felt it was unnecessary. But you feel like Ark is misunderstood. I may consider giving him a go, but it would depend on how far he takes things. Tactica Imperialis is decent if you don't feel like reading lore. Not a lot of originality to the content, but he does the job if you're just trying to learn. Well, we're trying to learn, entertain, hang, bro out. You know what I mean? Like we're not just here to learn. We're here to bro out as well. You can blame. Oh.
Until finally at the end, the Ultramarines and the White Scars came to help them out.
Oh man, that's so fucked up.
So it gets worse. So after,
of course it does. It's Warhammer.
So after only 200 of them were left, they were really fucking sad that like most of their company died, and so they left after being rescued by the White Scars and Ultramarines, and then they got stranded in the warp for 100 years, due to a warp storm, and constantly fighting demons from like trying to fuck them for like 100 years.
Oh,
that
is kind of unlucky.
That's so unlucky. So, like, how did they get caught in the warp? Is it just because, like, they were fleeing and then blip, they like, accidentally warped into...
Nah, like a warp storm. Big old warp storm.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Right. I didn't realize warp storms just popped up out of nowhere and, like, just engulfed people. That sucks.
No, there's going to be some inherent genetic diversity, and look at the salamanders. Like, their diversity came from the planet that they were raised on, so 100%. I think there very easily can be environmental and genetic differences between all of them. As we've seen, people have been fucking with the gene seed. So, I'm just saying. Genetic diversity is bound to come out.
Yeah, they were stuck in the warp for like 100 years.
Ouch.
I think the Geller fields didn't always work well, so they had demons attacking them. And they were there for 100 years, 200 men, constantly fighting demons. And then they finally came out, and they were good again.
Well, honestly, it was Spinal told me about that. The female Space Marines, as much as I like the ladies, my first reaction to that isn't that why the Adeptus Sororitaris was created? Because the Space Marines can't be female. And it was like, this was the way of still getting them in on the fight. Like, I'm pretty sure that those female chapters were created due to the fact that women couldn't be Space Marines. And it's literally in the lore that the gene seed goes down the male line. But... because this is what people don't realise. Like, it is... Right, I'm going to get a little bit technical here. I'm really sorry. It is the sperm that picks the gender. If all the sperm in that gene seed is a Y chromosome, they're all going to be men. You can't just change that. Yeah. You're a sperm alpaca. We all were at one point. But, to be honest, I think Templin tried to win some points with the ladies, but it doesn't. Because even as a lady, diversity for the sake of diversity is bullshit. Like, I'm gonna delete that comment. But, like, I'm just saying, personally, I feel that there can't be female Space Marines. Purely because it just seems so entrenched in the lore, and because of the fact that the genetic seed is down the males. That is why Adeptus Sororitaris and all them other female factions exist, because it's not saying they can't be badass, they just can't be this one specific thing. But yeah, I will shelve the conversation. Thank you, Stone.
And then they started refilling back to full strength. They were working their way up, and they decided to fight with another group called the Astral Claws, who were surprisingly like the only friends. The Astral Claws were the only group that ever showed them like any kind of kindness.
The Apprentice later on became the Inquisitor and tricked the Flesh Tearers, causing some of them to attack and kill each other, and she threatened Gabriel's death when he said he'd come after her. Ooh.
Oh, and they started fighting them?
No. They started fighting with them.
Oh, with them. Okay, I misheard you.
Them because they were the only chapter that showed them any kind of kindness.
Damn, even 100 years later, after being caught in the warp, after making that last stand, going down to only 200 of them, everybody still fucking hates them?
Yeah.
Holy s'mores.
Okay. So sorry, that was okay. So Space Marines are petty assholes.
Fair.
All right, Space Marines. I mean, they're not as bad as Imperial Knights, but they're hoity-toity douchebags quite often, because they consider themselves better than the average person, which they are.
Yeah.
They're very like the duty of the chapter and the brothers are more important than an Imperial citizen. Goodbye.
Well, Marines come pretty close to looking like the Primarch, so maybe that black people gain white skin color if they are made from the Raven Guard, for example. They are pretty prideful. Yeah. I'm just saying there is clear genetic diversity in all things, but just because there's genetic diversity doesn't mean that you're gonna pop a female out of a Y chromosome. At least not birth one. Yeah, no, I get you. Iron Hands are the most petite Space Marines.
Enjoy getting murdered by Tyranids.
Oof. Jesus. And indeed, assholes. Yep. Fair.
So let's go into some notable battles. We got about four. Four, and they make up the bulk of the Lamenters lore. So the first one is the Corinth Crusade. Now, it was fought in a planet called Slaughterhouse 3, which was an orc slave mining planet.
Slaughterhouse 3 is such an orc name for a planet.
I was about to ask, who names their place Slaughterhouse 5? And of course the orcs do.
Of course the orcs.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a great name.
So about 300 So they were chilling around with the Ultramarines at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they were looking down there and they saw hundreds of thousands of human slaves going into like mining mines and just never returned. And because there were a bunch of orcs, and of course the Lamenters were like, this rustles my jimmies. Yeah.
Yes, I did actually. And purple is stealth. I'm joking. I've never seen a purple orc. Have you?
Because they're the bro tier guys. So working along with Ultramarines, the Ultramarines chapter master is a guy named Marnius Calgar. So Calgar was like, okay, we'll help them. It's like a.
I remember the memes.
The whole orc world is quite hard to deal with. He was like, all right, we'll help them, sure, or you're allowed to help them, but we Ultramarines are not going to assist you. If you're gonna help them, this is on your own.
Right.
And
I guess that makes sense because the Ultramarines are like whatever, trying to save a bunch of civilians from an orc planet. It's got to be a massive undertaking because those are orcs. Like we just discussed how hard orcs are to kill and how bad they are and how much they'll fuck you up. I imagine trying to save people from a planet of them is just like, nope, sorry civvies. It's not
treatment that I'll shit on them regardless. Way. And while they started attacking, the human population kind of rose up. You know, they were like, yeah, rebellion. And 3 million people were rescued.
Wow.
But the Lamenters only had one major battle barge, and they couldn't escort 3 million people off the planet.
Yeah.
And so this one badass tech marine was like furiously trying to fix orc ships that are orc ships.
Yeah, good luck. It's all just scrap metal that falls apart, right?
Not sometimes, but pretty often. And so they kept on trying to fix it this entire time.
Don't you just have to believe they work? That's how orc ships work, right? It's about the belief. If you believe something will work, it will. Who is more unlucky, Mantis Warriors or Lamenters? Oh, I don't know. I don't know the Mantis Warriors too well.
But then, about 100 Lamenters died during this fight.
Ooh.
So, you know, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, 2-on-3! How we doing? Lamenters, your favourite Space Marine chapter on the Loyalist side? Let's go. Well, welcome in. Hope you're doing well.
But then the humans were like, hey, you guys are awesome.
Hey!
You really helped us out. We like you. Leave us behind and get off world. It matters more that you guys survive.
Oh, that's
And
kind
I
of
was
nice.
like, yeah, damn, go bro to your humans. And
Yeah.
so the Lamenters were not happy with this decision, but they said, okay, fine. And so what they did is they detonated a fuckload of bombs underneath in the underground orc mines,
Oh.
and which basically was akin to declaring exterminatus on the planet. So
Yeah.
only about 100 Lamenters survived, and with some furious adjustments to the battle barge and the orc transports, about 250,000 survivors were able to make it off-world.
That's good. 250,000 survived. Mantis Warriors turned traitor, and then they all went up against the Space Sharks of all chapters, and Tiberius wrecked them a new a-hole. Listen. If you go against Space Sharks, you're gonna get bitten.
Which, compared to 3 million, is less than
Not a lot.
10%.
I
Yeah.
see what you're
That's
saying.
at least
But
I
they-
got some of them.
They got him, 250,000. They got him, and they made it back. And Marnius Calgar, the Ultramarines guy, was like fucking ecstatic. He was like, "Holy shit, you guys are like really, really brave and powerful, and there's only 100 of you left. Oh my god, here's an Iron Halo." And an Iron Halo is like a I think it's a force field type deal. It's a damn powerful piece of tech.
Okay.
And as like a gift or like a medal almost.
The Ban of War is a huge mistake due to rich people not liking people messing with the money. Sounds about right.
Yeah, like a Medal of Honor almost. Yeah, yeah.
Kinda, yeah. And then the Lamenters denied it because they were like, we don't feel like heroes.
Aw.
What? 3 million people were
because-
there.
Yeah, they had to
We only saved
sacrifice
so
so
many.
many humans. They could only save less than 10%. Only 100 of them survived. Yeah, I guess they probably wouldn't feel like, oh, woohoo, we won.
Yeah,
Ooh.
but
Yay, we're all dead.
yeah, so they decided to deny it. And then Calgar was like, all right, fine. But then the rest of the Ultramarines were like,
+4 invulnerable save. That's funny. I like that.
what the fuck? Why aren't you taking the thing from our chapter master? You guys are weird and suspicious. We don't like you. So the rest of the Ultramarines got more angry and suspicious
God.
at them because
Oh,
they wouldn't accept
wow.
his gift.
They really can't catch a break, can they?
Nope.
But like, they didn't give him a chance to speak on it. The reasoning's understandable.
After all that, after saving all those people, regretting it, only 100 of them survived. Finally, they get some recognition, and everybody's just like, "Yeah, fuck you. You didn't take his gift. You're shady as fuck." Back to hating the Lamenters.
Don't.
Right, on the tabletop with Lamenters, like, is there something funny about the luck? Like, does it say that, like, 1, 2, and 3 are a 1, for example? Or, like, 1, 3, 5? Any odds is, like, a 1? You do not fight space sharks or minotaurs. It will just end in a massacre and you'll be the one who gets the arse whopping. Sure, I'm getting the feeling of that. No, 4+. Roll a d6, get a 4 or higher and you don't take damage. That's good.
Want our gift? Are you chaos? What are you, chaos or something? Huh? So
It's an Iron Halo. Come on, you idiot.
hey, those things are cool. Actually, I'm gonna look up what an Iron Halo is. Astartes and is a commoner. Makes
Yeah, I get lamenting that you couldn't save all those people and that you lost a bunch of people, but like, that's a perma buff, homie. Like
That's a good buff.
You want that so that you don't die the next time this happens.
I think in game it's a 4-up invul save or something like that, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Space Sharks are the loyalty version of the World Eaters, both brutal in melee battle.
It's an
Ooh.
Iron Halo. You should.
He then later tracked down a ship and tricked her into making it seem like he was going to attack her, causing her to warp jump, but not before another Flesh Terror ship, which was being hired, sent a bunch of Death Company drop pods, which landed on a ship before she warp jumped and killed everyone and everything on the ship while she was in the warp, probably causing the ship to become lost in the warp.
He should have taken it. I'm just gonna say that he should have taken it. Suspicious now. We'll talk about Badab.
All I can picture is someone dabbing.
Adab, Badab.
Drink every time someone says lament. I have work in the morning. Hey. Sorry. Do you wanna come say hi? No? Yes? Just wave. Just wave. Sorry.
Dab. fuck this. All right, so there's this other thing in the Jericho Reach, which is this is a thing where they escorted a rogue trader. Imagine a rogue trader, kind of like a Mass Effect example. It's like Shepard and his group. It's like a human guy. He works for the Imperium. Sometimes they bring aliens on their ship to help them out. They're like mercenaries, or they're like their own kind of little like investigative group or something. It's kind of cool. It's like if you want a more like human style.
Yeah.
So they had like a 1,000-year debt to this rogue trader guy, so they helped him out and they like escorted his ship. Well, one of their ship suffered a massive drive failure, and they all had to escape from the ship. And
so what I'm hearing is she's a feeling it. Are you a feeling it? How is she getting manhandled? She's literally wandering around my desk. And she is a gorgeous cat. She's just a prick. Mwah. She is very cute. No worries, Marshmallow. Good luck studying. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Don't worry, the rest of the video will be up. There's only 2 more videos left after this. You didn't need to do that. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't need to turn the video on and off. You didn't. Alright, we ready to continue? Yeah? But yeah, have a good rest of your night. Ah, don't kiss me, it'll make me cry. Night Lord's still winning on videos, it's true.
And most to all of the Lamenters there died.
Wow.
And like only like a few of them survived, and they were then indicted into the Death Watch, which is a different version of Space Marines. But a lot of the ones on that escort vessel died. So
Yeah,
the Lamenters are once again not doing very well.
Jesus. So do Lamenters ever have that many people in them?
Got you.
It seems like every battle they go to, they fight tooth and nail. They do really well. But like 90% of them get fucked, and they have to like rebuild the Lamenters all over again.
Yeah, kinda. They're mainly just being kicked when they're down. They finally get like back up to a solid amount of strength, and then they immediately just get pummeled again, and that's that.
That Jesus. Oh, sorry, I didn't come up with the snack food. Sorry, guys.
No, I was waiting. I was like, how dare you?
Damn,
you messed it up.
I fucked up.
Basically, remember those guys? Look Futron. Where the
Gazoonite.
What the fuck his name is? I don't listen, man. All right, listen.
Oh, Death Watch is a joint task force with the best from different chapters. Thank you. I was wondering.
Putting this name in chat. Tell me how you pronounce that.
Oh God.
LUGFTHURON. Look, I don't fucking know, man.
I would guess that the G was silent, and I'd go left Huron.
You're making this real.
That's not as funny. He's not left at all. There's nothing left about him. His name is
Luggy
in a maelstrom area of space, and the Imperium was
don't know.
Nah. He was denied, and so he was like, "How dare you?" And so in the Badab sector, he led like a kind of an insurrection against the Imperial forces there, who they believed to be pretty damn corrupt, like greedy assholes. When they were like, "We need to lead our fight. We're gonna do an insurrection here."
Yeah.
And so obviously the Lamenters, being like lifelong bros with the Astral Claws, helped them out, as well as another group called the Mantis Warriors. Because they were their first ever like genuine actual friends.
Aww.
So with that though, turns out our good friend Luggy actually turned chaos,
Oh.
and
Oh,
so did all of the Astral Claws.
oh no.
So then the Minotaurs chapter, which is another successor chapter, arrived and were like, oh boy, a whole lot of traitors.
Oh no.
Damn.
And the Minotaurs are like pretty brutal. They're like Space Wolves level. And so they just came in and just like curb stomped them. Yeah, they're very like Doomslayer Space Marines, absolutely.
The Minotaurs are like Doomslayers?
They're like Doomslayer Space Marines.
Oh.
Wow.
Actually,
that's pretty hardcore.
I think their color scheme does carry like a little bit of a Doomslayer look to it. Oh well, actually maybe that's the color scheme. More so the fact that they just really like killing.
Okay.
Man,
I really like killing. That I can
I
get behind
suddenly
that.
feel so very bad for the Lamenters again. They had one group of friends, lifelong friends, in the Astral Claws, and whoops, all chaos, and it's just
oops, all chaos.
Sometimes punishment.
man.
Oh.
So the Minotaurs came by, and then they just pounded them into submission.
Oh man.
They fought tooth and nail. The Astral Claws, they went to chaos and all, but eventually the Lamenters surrendered, reduced again to only like 300 Marines.
Yeah, of course.
And by doing so, they were then imprisoned. And the Minotaurs, very upset that they lost a bunch of their dudes and their gear, they, requisitioned a large amount of the Lamenter ships and their gears.
Excuse me? I would have decked them.
And basically stole it because they were like, you fuckers destroyed our shit. This is our shit now.
Oh,
they went all orc in the end.
Ugh.
So the Mantis Warriors and the Astral Claws, I don't really know what happened to them. I'm pretty sure the Astral Claws are all, they're all chaos
all
now,
dead.
so who cares?
Oh, okay.
Feminators attacked the Lamenters hospital ship and they surrendered because the Minotaurs said they'd kill the wounded in the beds. That's so scummy! Ugh! I don't like the Minotaurs. I like the Lamenters more than I like the Minotaurs. Also, this cat is determined on being the stream. Yeah, screw you, Minotaurs!
Or they're dead or they ran away or whatever. I don't care much about. I don't care about Luggy. But the Lamenters, they were actually given a pardon by the courts.
So I was wondering when the Astral Claws went chaos, did the Lamenters didn't turn on them? Did they actually like fight the Minotaurs off or try to fight them with the Astral Claw?
No, so the Astral Claws, they lied and they were like, hey, all these Imperium officials are corrupted or they're corrupt. That's why they're not letting us fight.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so they didn't know they were chaos.
Okay, gotcha.
They were just completely unknown. They're like, oh my god, we didn't know they turned to chaos.
In my head, I was like, "Oh God, are the Lamenters being punished for something that like they didn't even? You're friends with bad people, prison."
Well, that was what was happening. But they did get a bit of a they got let go. They got let go. The courts were like, okay, you screwed up, but you're.
Yeah, it sounds like the Astral Claws were doing good shit and then they just turned to chaos later on.
You're gonna show some penance right now, all right? So they had to do a thing called the Penance Crusade. The Penance Crusade is 100 years of crusading for the Emperor, but you are completely unallowed to replace your losses with new Marines.
Oh no.
Just not allowed.
That's so fucking rude. I'm so upset for the Lamenters.
A crutch and they can't replace anything, and
Or the other one's in a dreadnought. He's just like he's already died.
Yeah, he's already.
So they found these dudes. They're called the Tyranids, and there's these things called the Hive Fleet Kraken, which is one of the more terrifying Tyranid hive fleets. They found the Hive Fleet at the fringes of space, and the Tyranids were like, no, on a fucking human planet, and they were just eating up all the populace. And the Lamenters were like, "Oh God, it's the populace. There's some good humans. I'm gonna go help them." So they went down there, and they helped, and they tried to fight the Tyranids for as long as they possibly could, and they
Listen, could no one just have said to them, yo, why are you attacking us? Your mates turn to chaos. Did no one ever think to tell them? I'm not hearing that anyone sat down and had a conversation with the Lamenters and was like, yo, you know the Astral Claws have gone to chaos, right? I think maybe the Lamenters may have had a couple of questions for both sides.
It really held out. But then, if things could not have gotten worse, they got worse. So it turns out that during this fight, the AdMech solution for the Black Rage didn't work, and the Black Rage came back.
Oh, toaster strudels. That's
Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, Pop-Tarts, toaster strudels, and any other pastry you can think of, because that sucks.
So this is a real Pillsbury Doughboy moment.
That's man, everything bad that could happen has happened to these fools, hasn't it?
Well, because the Black Rage came back, they had to send a lot of Marines as death company, which obviously was to their death, but they can't recoup their losses because they're on a penance crusade.
Oh, yep, that's
gross.
That's a biscuit.
So they
Murphy's Law, I haven't thought about that in so long.
They couldn't refill their losses. They lost nearly all of their men, besides like 2 companies, and to most of the world, this was thought to be the death of their chapter.
I just feel like they're not going into enough detail for me, and I feel like I was learning more from Voldemort. It's not that I'm not having a good time. I'm enjoying chilling out, but I also have a cat that's currently sat on my mouse, which is making my life a little bit harder. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to have to kick her out though, because she barely ever loves me. So I'm definitely stuck in a rock and a hard place with her. But she makes me happy. But no, I'm thinking I might just skip some of this video and come back to some of this lore and some of these fights a bit later. Nothing against Bricky, I just want a bit more lore, you know?
And the Tyranids ate the rest of them alive.
Well, Dorian, I've already watched the Voldemort video, so I know very much Lamenters equals sadness. This is the second video we've done. Voldemort covered a lot of
and
this.
The Lamenters are
cheese and crackers. That's
now this is not true. It probably was the end until GW probably retconned it, because that's what they do.
They want to sell more Lamenters minis, of course.
You see these fuckers in their taxi. One of the major Lamenter characters is a Dreadnought, and he's currently working with the Death Watch. The Death Watch, we'll get to.
Okay, so we learned about a lot of this. Okay. Well, I'd be down to watch his Alpha Legion video, but I think I'm done with the Bricky video for now, and I want to go into the Lamenter story because this is one of the ones I was most looking forward to. Never mind.
Well, I mean, you could
customly make
just for you, Dan.
We've seen the terror they can provide. One Salamander, one Ultramarine, other chapters like this. A team of guys might be like one Salamander, one Ultramarine, one Lamenter, because it's the idea that like, okay, we've fought the alien, we've seen the terror they can provide. We are now going to dedicate our life to killing aliens.
So are they just like the best of the best, or are they just like
they're specifically suited for killing aliens? They have a bunch of rules that like are specific to like stop the Eldar from being annoying, make reanimation protocols not as powerful, screw up the hive mind of the Tyranids. They're very like dedicated to killing aliens.
Okay, gotcha.
But one of they actually look fucking cool. They have like jet black armor with like gold symbols on their. We'll talk about them eventually, but they're really cool looking.
Are they a successor of the Salamanders though?
Yeah, they are.
Because that would technically mean they're slightly right.
Sick.
They're badass. They're literally like the Spec Ops. They're like the Navy SEALs, like the Danish Frog.
That's why I picked it, because I got told that was what I needed to watch by everyone. Everyone who spoke about it wanted me to watch that, so I was like, yes.
Augment of Space Marines. But yeah, so one guy particularly is the Dreadnought Chiron. And basically, he's one of the only dreadnoughts within the Lamenters chapter. And he's part of the Ordo Xenos of the Death Watch. And he thought he was the only surviving member of the entire Lamenters chapter because he's the last guy part of the Death Watch. Not anymore. The Lamenters have been bolstered thanks to Gilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines.
Yeah.
He gave them a bunch of Primaris Marines, which are all those like new Marines. And so he started to bolster their groups, started to help out their chapter a bit.
Gotcha.
But before them, Lamenters were thought to be they were gone. They were dead, so they were out.
Dead.
And that, like, there really isn't a whole lot else on the Lamenters. There's a couple like maybe small battles here and there, but truthfully, it's just having a really bad time. So let's roll it back. Curse Founding tried to remove the Black Rage. Couldn't remove the Black Rage. Constant state of melancholy. All of the Space Marines considered them untrustworthy. Were left behind on a Chaos planet. Got stranded in the warp for 100 years. Made friends with the Astral Claws. Astral Claws turned Chaos and betrayed them. And then the Imperium, messed them up. Had a horrible, painful death on the Orc planet. Ultramarines didn't like them because they refused their honor.
Yep.
A bunch of them died and then got turned to Death Watch when they were escorting the Rogue Trader, and Penance Crusade, and then the Tyranids ate most of the rest of their chapter. And after all of that, they are a bright yellow color with a
They're more of a mustard yellow now. They were actually darkened.
checkerboard shoulder pad and a bleeding heart circle in the center. It is horse shit trying to paint like Imperial Fists. At least they got like that bumblebee look. They're yellow and black, but what is this?
Yeah, from what I've seen of people painting, the checkerboard is the fucking worst. There's no custom paint folders for these chapters get sent on like these.
I'm sorry, Dan. I don't think they spoke much about Chiron, but we are gonna go into Lamenter's Tale. I think he was just briefly mentioning him as part of the Death Watch. But are we ready for the Lamenter's Tale? I want everyone to get comfy, everyone get cozy. We're gonna hit up the Lamenter's Tale. Deal? Are we ready? Or do I need to do a we'll be right back after this this sponsored heresy? Too cold to get comfy? Well then, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go put your heating on. Because you cannot be... I'm very unhappy with the idea that y'all will be cold during this. Please go and get something warm. I'm going to give you all 2 minutes. I'm going to put on some suspenseful music, and then we're going to get into story time. You guys know how story time works. I love a good story time. I like to get comfy myself. I may even go and grab my own blanket, because I can. Ah! Why did I close that? Didn't mean to do that. One moment, there's one thing that I do need if I'm going to do that, because there's no way that I would be comfortable leaving without this on screen. You guys know what it is. If you've been here before, you know what I'm going to put on screen. Ta-da! See you in 2 minutes. it's me. Hi. Ready for the Lamenters tale? I did put on the heat. Let's get comfy. Let's get all snuggled up. Let's watch the Lamenters tale.
Do you know the word?
One of those guys who wears shorts in the winter. Well, Spider, you reminded me to put the heating on, so thank you. Said he was lying in wait in case more arrived. That is super cool, Dan. Easy there, Hellraiser. The suffering pleases me? Oh dear. It's where Kane gets all his luck from. That tracks. I mean, he's struggling against all the odds and constant setbacks of what 40k is about in my eyes, and Lamenters are that personified. And it's pretty cool. The only way one man is that lucky is if he's trading luck from hundreds of Marines.
Lament. Like many great words, it followed us. Followed us from Terra. Do you know what it means? That word. Lament. It
I do.
means to mourn.
Yeah.
To regret. To remember. We lamented. I lament.
Ooh, this is dramatic. I like
After our
it.
founding, when we were graced with our ceramite plates, our heraldry, and our name,
We saw the tumultuous events of the 21st founding.
we saw the traitors. We knew that our destiny lay elsewhere, so we did what a fleet-based legion does, and we flew. To the far reaches of the Imperium, my brothers and I traveled. How those infinite gulfs between the stars parted before us.
I've been meaning to watch the Ogren story, to be fair, so that is on the list.
I could not tell you how many worlds we saved, how many trillions our actions have aided, directly or otherwise. With permission from our father, Sanguinius, we spread the only thing worth spreading. Peace. Indeed, we did so through war. Sometimes bloody, brutal, and inhumane war. But to look to the means and criticize them can render the ends broken. I can tell you of the people I myself aided. I can tell you of the cancers cured by the Narthesium I wore on my own arm. I can tell you of the worlds I saw, the worlds I helped rebuild.
I love how dramatic this is already. This is amazing.
I can tell you of the scent of the bread baked with pink wheat in the high world of Lonos, and how even now I can still smell that bread. How I remember handing it to the poor, the hungry, and the brave. I can tell you of the wine gifted to me by the Lady Regent of Norn.
Who's this? Who's this? Someone tell me who this is. Is this the Lady Regent of Norn? Because she is fazine.
Wine made from fruit grown in her family's orchards, in the same orchards that have flowered for over 900 years. That bottle is still somewhere in the Imperium,
Nice.
though I do not know where. I cannot tell you of so much more, for those tales are lost. The records, those tablets, scrolls, and recordings are simply gone.
A little
Gone
bit.
to the place where all tales of heroes must go.
She was still fine though.
Cast to the ethereal winds of the universe itself.
I could tell you of our finest hour. I say the following without ego and pray I do not seem arrogant. I believe all should know of Corellia.
Okay.
Many
I'd
of my
like to.
former brothers in arms called us cursed. I do not consider such a descriptor to be apt or just. Being an apothecary, I work with only what I know and can see. However, not all are as I am. I learned that the hard way. The rumors of our legion being cursed spread like wildfire on the splinter bark plains of Janasik.
It's not a shame. I think you can like AI art without taking away from actual art that it's been created by hand. I am against the stealing of other people's art to create AI art, but AI art as a concept, I'm not in disagreement with. I think it can streamline a lot of processes, which is really good.
Thus, within a century, the rumors stuck. I admit, we had our share of bad fortune. There were battles we lost. A warrior who cannot admit his losses doesn't deserve to speak of his victories. Our chapter master was fond of saying that.
Agreed.
Always coaching humbleness and truth. I hear his voice still, whispered sometimes on the wind, or echoing down an abandoned street. I'm losing my course, I apologize. I admit when a battle seems certain.
He laments his choice of words there. Hey, Carlos! How are we doing? Nice to see you again.
Something would occur to strip that certainty.
Me
Yes,
too.
We often knew the taste of the ash of loss on our tongues.
Mirror, you got good taste.
But we also knew the glory of victory, of honor, and justice. I tell you
Justice!
the rumor because it's important to understand how things are the way they are.
Ding.
Remember, means and ends. Corellia. How rarely I think of it now. In the 38th millennium, we were called homeward by the High Lords. You see, the Eye of Terror, the dreaded smear in the skies of so many worlds, had begun to vomit forth its insidious children once more.
This time, however, no mere rabble of babbling sycophants appeared.
Draped in the armor of the cowardly, armed with the weapons of a traitor and bowing hell behind him, Abaddon in his Black Crusade came forth. I will not call him the Despoiler, for I believe that to give our enemies titles only emboldens them to further their wickedness. By the time we arrived, Abaddon had already burned a dozen worlds to ash, and offered just as many to his sorcerers,
thinking
allowing
that, Dad.
demonic forces to claim billions as slaves or toys. We are not a chapter remembered for its wrath or hate. But trust me when I say this, we all hated him. We hated with an intensity reserved usually for love. By the time we reached the Segmentum,
They fought in one of the Black Crusades. That's cool.
he had destroyed 2 entire chapters of Astartes. Both, coincidentally, named the Celestial Swords. May they
Coincidence.
find the peace that is earned by only the purest of warriors. And let me say a name to you. The Mortificators. You probably don't know who they are. That's no great loss. Their ranks are filled with warriors chosen from a night world. A small, savage place that does not breed humans. It breeds animals who just happen to be human. The
But
Mortificators are a successor chapter of the Ultramarines. That is a fact that still surprises me to this day. Again, you ask yourself, what all this has to do with anything, correct? Well, the Mortificators were to hold Corellia alongside us.
it was a clerical error, and it was only found out after both were destroyed at the same time. Oh, okay.
They were to defend its 9 billion population,
That's a lot of
its
people.
hab towers, its scomes, its refineries, all of it, from Abaddon and his Black Crusade. But we had spent 3 weeks building defenses, training humans and doing all we could. We received word that these noble sons of Gilliman, these successors to the legends of old McCrag, would not be helping those 9 billion people. They would not defend those hab towers, those scomes, or those refineries, because my brothers and I were cursed. They abandoned us. They abandoned the soldiers, the mothers and fathers, the grandparents.
When your legion has by far the most successes, not all of them are going to be good apples, but yeah, screw those guys. Yeah, screw those guys.
All of them. In the name of superstition, they sentenced so many to death. We did the best we could. If you have it within you, please believe me. We spent 6 weeks fighting. 6 weeks! So much is a blur. So much isn't even there. So much more isn't even a blur. I could list the names of the 804 starters who fell.
Bet you couldn't, though.
I could tell you the color of their eyes, how they kept their hair, what jokes they laughed at. Or, I can tell you this. Each of them died for something greater than any of us. They fought for peace. They fought for a peace that Abaddon sought to choke from the citizens of the world.
AlienDorian. Mortificators, if the Inquisition asked, were totally not descended from the Death Guards. We don't even know who a Mortarian is. Oh, Marines have eidetic memories? Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. I learned today. Marines have eidetic memories. Bet I could tell you what jokes they laughed at. None. LMAO!
When all others turned away, we stood defiant, knowing the cost, gladly willing to pay it. After 6 weeks, the sons of the Great Khan and the sons of Gilliman appeared in the skies. The Mortificator's dereliction of duty had caused 4 billion deaths. Do I believe they could have saved every soul?
It's why he can still smell the bread. Oh.
No, I do not. Do I know that in combat, a single blade can change the tide of war?
Yep.
We left Corellia broken, with barely enough hands to turn our fleet outward toward the Gulf once more. I had to be subdued and forcibly sedated because...
Right, can I just say, this stuff is so cool. Anyone who makes videos like this, I have huge respect for. This is really cool. Warrior tier, A+.
I refused to leave. I was not alone. I believe we all would have laid our weapons down that day and stayed on Corellia.
But what if you have the nutrients paste on bread?
But we turned our heads and flew into the dark.
It is
gone for a
colours.
century. That time spent in silence, meditation, remembering, mourning, lamenting. 2,000 years after Corellia, we were called on again.
Don't think I didn't notice every time you recommended this, Stanley. You recommended this every time I considered doing Lamenters. And I did notice.
This time joining a shield made of 4 chapters, the Maelstrom Wardens. We were to flit around, being not much more than an early warning system. Fate, however, had a different idea. It was there we met the Astral Claws. No amount of recounted heroism will ever lead you to what the Astral Claws are today. The Red Corsairs, they call themselves now.
What, the Lamenters drinking game will kill you? In this video, yes it will.
Their leader has been reduced to a madman, supposedly a demon prince. I hope that is not true.
I do not wish to imagine Luft Heron.
That roguish, charming, and noble warrior is that.
Is that the name they struggled with so much? Luft? Luftheron? Come on. I'm so down for the Ogren story soon. So down.
Huron Blackheart and the Red Corsairs are not the Astral Claws. They cannot be. The Claws died on Badab. What a foolish waste. Miscommunication. Misunderstanding. The Luft believed the Imperial rulers on Badab were not only corrupt, but inept and truly lost. I do not support his rebellion, knowing what it led to. But I do understand it. I admit that by this point he was a different being. Too many decades spent fighting demon incursions in the dark spaces of Space Hawks.
The Sergeant Major asked me what my job was, and I said it was to do what I was told. He said I was a genius and gave me another medal. I like the Imperial Guard!
Too many lost brothers. Too many ignored cost. Too many ignored pleas for aid. We saw his homeworld, the world of his legion being ill-treated and acted foolishly. The truth you won't hear is as follows. Huron begged and pleaded for assistance. He knew that the Wardens were too weak to hold back the horror. He begged for a crusade for support. He held others back, offering greater tithes if his pleadings were answered. That was the log that broke Barakon's back.
It wasn't a medal, it was a shiny!
Barracan refused to believe an Astartes would behave in such a way. What a trade prince knows of a warrior's life, I do not know. Huron wouldn't pay, and because he wouldn't pay, others had to. Remember this. Huron refused to pay tithes to those who wouldn't do the right thing. But his handwritten documents of succession guaranteed a bolstered bulwark against the horrors. Some traitor he was at the start, eh? Willing to defend the Imperium, just not willing to pay the extortionate rates of those trade guilds and the Mechanicus. I regret what happened, as do all the souls who witnessed tragedy.
Is he gonna say I lament it?
I'm thankful that I was not there at the fall of the Firehawks. The sons of Vulcan carry with them the flame of humanity.
So, as a note, chat did tell me this is a mistake. They are the sons of the Ultramarines, they're not a son of Vulcan.
A misunderstanding caused the Firehawks to be fired upon and killed. I remember my brother Shaffy telling me what had happened. I remember how pale he was. It didn't take long for the news of the bloodshed and misunderstanding to spread. It quickly became a treachery and rebellion. My brothers and I were considered renegades.
And when the end of the Badab Rebellion came, we surrendered to Imperial justice.
Justice. Remember that word. We were cast off again into the space between the worlds to spend 100 years in crusade, atoning for our sins.
Like, they didn't really have many sins, though. I don't think they did anything wrong.
Of course, our luck by then was spent. We faced the dreaded mindless horde of the Tyranids
Did you have luck before that? Because it doesn't sound like it.
who, with time, decimated our numbers. And then the end came for us. All things must end. So did we. The death of my chapter saw the loss of perhaps the greatest breakthrough ever made by an apothecary. My surgeon brothers and I had managed to fix the flaw in our gene seed. We had cured the Black Rage.
True. Innocent proves nothing. That's what the Inquisitors say.
You may know of the lies of the Inquisition, but do you know that because of them, the flaw of the sons of the Blessed Angel may never be cured? Inquisitor Talorus betrayed not only my brothers, but also the Knights of the Raven and the Scythes of the Emperor. Our final death, the death of my chapter, came at the claws of a tendril of the dread High Fleet Kraken. It was there that I ended. After seeing so many of my kin consumed or ripped apart.
Hey, listen. Our unbelievable luck doesn't state whether it's good or bad. Luck can go either way. Just they don't have luck now. There's no such thing as innocence, only varying degrees of guilt. It's true. You'd have to watch Arbiter Ian's video on Badab to find out more.
Thanks to an Inquisitor, I knew it was over. And so did many others. In truth, I cannot tell you where many of us went. I know my dear friend Shiren was rumored lost in the void, but I see him sometimes, in my slumber. I do not believe he is dead, though I fear he may be. It's been many years since I've worn our plate, borne our heraldry, or seen another Astartes. You may have seen me on any number of so-called backwater worlds, helping those most in need. By modern Imperial law, I'm a heretic, a traitor, a coward. I am none of those things. I simply seek to help. I seek to spread peace with what little power I still have. According to the codices of the Astartes, I'm deserving of execution. How can I do anything but help those I was conditioned to help?
That's the Dreadnought? Nice. Stern, I might have you sooner than you think.
How can I not do what the Emperor made me do? And how can I do anything but mourn my lost brethren? Do you know what lament means? To lament. It means to mourn.
To regret. To remember.
To remember. I still see my long-lost friends. I still think fondly of the human families I aided. I can never forget Luf's broken hearts as he saw the Imperium's response to his actions. I remember a past future that will never be.
I know what lament means. To mourn, to regret, to remember, to drink.
One that lives on in my mind. I lament the losses of so many heroes and heroines, so many dreams and loves. But then again, what am I supposed to do? I was a lamenter once.
And now he laments forevermore. Join our chapter? That's adorable. That is so adorable. I liked that. That was good. That was good. And now we're going to finish off with something a little bit more humorous. They can't get drunk, damn. We're gonna get out my face. We're gonna end on something a little bit more humorous. Text-to-speech device. The fate of the Lamenters. So this is the last thing on today's video. We have been going for we've been going for over 2 hours now. And then please do stay for the end. I'm gonna make A, the full announcement again for those who missed it, but B, I'm also gonna discuss what's happening next week with 2 videos and the next live stream. So stick around. Hey, why are you muted? Space Wolves can get drunk? Sounds like Space Wolves are having a good time. Furry faction for the win.
As we wait, I shall ask something.
Yes, master?
As the Astartes, for whatever lord reason, have had something like 26 different foundings, I demand a question answered pertaining to the 21st founding.
Ah, yes, the reputed cursed founding.
Why does such patent superstition run so rampant in my Imperium that an entire founding of Space Marine chapters is literally labeled cursed in its official descriptors?
That's
as
funny.
if a cabal of fucking wizards put an evil spell on it?
Is that really so unlikely, master?
Take this Lamenters Space Marine Chapter 4-1. How could they possibly stand out from their Blood Angels brethren to the point of being officially labeled cursed when the likes of, say, the fucking Flesh Eaters remain undescribed as such? In fact, if you wish to go this route, I would even dare say in all my misery that the entire Blood Angels gene stock is quote-unquote cursed.
He ain't wrong though. Like, this version of the Emp I can get behind. I can't get behind the real one, but the one on text-to-speech, fucking love him.
Oh no, the Lamenters are absolutely cursed.
What the fuck? How?
Well...
Leave them, they're cursed. No, brothers, halt, please!
Yes, please help us, Sanguinius!
Activate explosive! Give us a quick death! Drive failure! Drive failure! We cannot allow outside forces to corrupt the Astartes
They're cursed! 100-year penitent crusade or die!
Yeah, this ain't good for them.
Sanguinius! We try our best! We save your people! We stand by you! We love you! So please, answer!
No one ever answered.
What have we done to deserve this fate?
Final lamentation.
That's about it.
Oh.
Oh. Fair enough.
Stop, 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 stop.
Laments uncontrollably. What a a way to end. What a way to end. Okay, for those of you who have made it this far, we've been going for over 2 hours. Looks like Night Lords win. Next Sunday is Night Lords. Secondary factor. Tuesday will be the first episode of Harley Hammer Knowledge Check. 2 episodes will be coming out. One will be accessible to all of you. The second one will not be accessible till a week later, except for my Patreons. My Patreons will have access to it as soon as it drops on Tuesday, and they will have access to Hell's Reach 6, 7, and 8 on Thursday, where non-Patreons will have access to episode 6, 7, and 8 will be next week. Essentially, the Patreon is acting as a 1-week early access to any videos that I upload. Live streams remain unaffected. Every Sunday, we'll vote in the live stream for the next one. The videos that are done in the previous one, there will be first voting rights to Patreons. I will still get everyone involved in the voting, but Patreons will have first voting rights, and they will have a weighted advantage on their votes due to the fact that they are obviously financially supporting me. But I do want to say thank you so much to Sternly. Thank you so much to Hansel Panda. Thank you so much to Asuki SJ, who are currently signed up as Patrons and will get early access to all my videos. It's massively appreciated. This is the year of YouTube. Last reminder to like the stream, because getting it out in the algorithm is huge. Thank you so much to those 3 people, because they allow me to keep my stuff sponsor free. And that's the biggest thing. I don't want to have a bunch of sponsors. I don't want to be constantly doing ad breaks, this, that, the other. Supporting me on Patreon, the money comes directly to me, goes straight towards me having time to do all of this. And this is the year of YouTube. So my YouTube is going to get a lot more work on it this year. You will notice a lot more videos, a lot more streams, and I'm going to be trying to up the content as in quality. So please do look out for all of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in today. It's been a great 2 hours. I will see you on Tuesday for the video, Thursday for the video, and Sunday for the live. I am proud of you for getting through today. I'm even more proud of you for getting through tomorrow. Arrivederci, arrivederci, good as Aluego. Peace! See you all in the next one.